Welcome back to Creepy Places in New England. We're now going to head to the gravestone of Harriet Jacobs, who is buried in Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge, Mass. She wrote a book called Incident in the Life of a Slave Girl. Steve and I read it after I learned about it in one of my English literary classes. It really deals with a first-hand account of slavery. So we're going to go there. We're going to see if we can maybe even communicate with her. As it's not really supposed to be a ghost hunt, but it doesn't mean we can't try to communicate with her. And we hope you enjoy the sights and sounds of this. Harriet Ann Jacobs was born into slavery on February 11, 1813, in Edenton, North Carolina. Her mother, Delilah, was a slave to Margaret Horniblow, and her father, Elijah, was a slave to Dr. Andrew Knox. She inherited the status of slave from her mother. Here's a map showing the slavery status of the United States around 1850. The red states would be the slave states, while the blue states would be the free states. Those in purple would be territories, and they haven't quite decided if they're going to be free or slave yet. In 1819, Harriet's mother died, and she goes to live under the ownership of Margaret Horniblow, who taught Harriet to read and write during a time when it was legal. After the slave revolt led by Nat Turner in 1831, many slave states passed laws forbidding slaves and even some free men from learning to read and write. After the death of Margaret Horniblow, Harriet is willed into ownership to Dr. James Norcom, who, unlike Margaret, treated Harriet badly by submitting her to sexual harassment at the tender age of 12. For years, Harriet was bombarded with perverse sexual advancements from Dr. Norcom and jealous cruelty from his wife. In 1829, all this led Harriet to have an affair with Samuel Treadwell Sawyer, a white lawyer who will eventually become a U.S. Senator. With Sawyer, Harriet gives birth to a son, Joseph, in 1829, and to a daughter, Louisa Matilda, in 1833. Both of her children were slaves. Her and her children continued to face cruelties from the Norcom family. So in 1835, Harriet went into hiding at her grandmother's house. She was a free slave, where her children were purchased by Sawyer himself. Well, to help you with the visualization of the room that Harriet had to stay in for 7 years, we're going to use Steve's apartment and his cats, and we're going to measure out 9 by 7 feet, and we'll do the 3 feet high later. But we're going to use we're going to use high-tech tape, and we're going to use high-tech measurements.
Thank God, I thought you had nails put on.
Yeah. Okay. So measuring out 9 feet. So we're just going to use little, over here, Steve, little tape things to measure out the points. So we're going to go 9 feet first. See what abuse I go into? So, this is 9 feet, give or take. By the way, my Mongrel t-shirt. They're playing in Providence tonight on Sunday. Okay, so now we're going to measure out. So somewhere about here, because the cat keeps ruining my measurements. Yeah, it's about 7 feet there, okay? So we got 9 by 7 by 3, which is, I know that's 36 inches, right? So that's 36 inches. So that will be...
That's just like as high as you're stooping right now.
So this is about... So for 7 years, she stayed in 9 by 7 by 3 feet, and she constantly always talked about banging her head. I know I'm a little bit tall, a lot taller than she is. I think she was like 5'3" or 5'4". So just shows for 7 years she had to stay in this little tiny room. She just didn't have to have the cats bothering her. The Norcom family tried unsuccessfully to find Harriet, but in 1842 it was decided by her grandmother and her other family that it was time for Harriet to flee north. With the help of those involved in the Underground Railroad, Harriet took a boat from Edenton, North Carolina to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then a train from there to New York City, where she spent several years in hiding, but was eventually reunited with her children. Her book, Incident in the Life of a Slave Girl, was published in 1861, and she had it published under a pen name, Linda Brandt. It is an autobiographical slave narrative, though several names were changed. This, along with Uncle Tom's Cabin, laid the groundwork for the Civil War and the elimination of slavery. Harriet died on March 7, 1897, at the age of 84.
2. Steve,
Yeah, that's true.
where are we going today?
We're going to be going to Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is near Boston.
That's near Boston.
Boston.
And why are we going there?
Because we're going to go see our friend Harriet.
Yes. I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Hey, guess where we at again, Steve?
Dunkin' Donuts.
We're at Dunkin' Donuts yet again.
Hey, did they ever give us like the money for commercials and stuff like that?
No, they're a corporation. They don't give a fuck.
Well, if you're listening, Mr. Donut,
678, please.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then, you know,
Boy, that F-bomb just slipped out.
what?
Down there is the great historic Boston, with it covered in smog and all that other great crap.
Boston.
Boston. I like saying it Boston. That's not how you're supposed to say it. Boston.
Boston.
Boston. Keep right. Through Cambridge. Yay! Cambridge. One, two, three. Well, we are here, and spring is in the air. This is the chapel area. There's also where the restrooms are. See, there he is. I couldn't find a map, but I want to show you something, okay?
Okay.
Follow me. Well, here's the map, and Steve, I wanted to show you where about Harriet is buried. She's buried right about here,
Okay.
and we are somewhere around here.
Entrance gate. So we just have to walk to the first.
Syracuse Road, and then you go down here.
Okay.
And yeah, we're on a mission. Well, before we get to Harriet's grave, here's some areas of the cemetery. We'll show you more of the cemetery because it has some, looks like it's going to be one of those places that's going to have some very interesting artwork and monuments and
I
stuff
want
like
a
that.
tinfoil cemetery stone too, you know?
Okay. I want to say briefly that the cemetery was founded in 1831, and it's the first large-scale design landscape open to the public in the United States. Isn't that just absolutely amazing? Various famous people are buried here, including Henry Longfellow, who is a poet. Maybe we'll find him later. And other senators, artists, and various religious leaders, mostly famous in this area, but, you know, kind of cool. And on April 21st, 1975, it was added to the National Registry of Historic Places. And in May 27th of 2003, it was added to the National Historic Landmark, which means that if a bunch of loser kids come and vandalize the place, they'll help and rebuild it. Thank you.
Hey, Charles?
Yes?
I don't know why. I had this feeling. I want to go bowling. Do you want to go bowling after?
No.
Oh, darn.
One big ball. Wow. Spring is in the air, and Sycamore Avenue. This is actually, we're going to go down this way. Beautiful trees. And you know what I haven't really noticed?
What's that?
I haven't seen any broken tombstones. I'm kind of losing faith in humanity. I mean, you know, aren't we supposed to destroy everything?
Not this place. It's too beautiful.
1, 2, 3. Hey, Steve.
Yes, Charles?
You know how I was just saying that I was very kind of glad that there were no stones tipped over?
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
Yeah, fortunately we found a stone that's tipped over.
Oh,
and
yeah?
guess who it belongs to?
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Harriet here.
Who we're looking for.
Who we're looking for. Her tombstone has been knocked over. But fear not, my fellow YouTubers. Looks like they're going to fix it. They have like wood under it.
And a padding, too.
And padding, so Here's Harriet Jacobs, who wrote Incident in the Life of a Slave Girl. We're kind of very upset because we're very bummed out right now. Hey, Steve.
Yes?
They might not be able to see in YouTube world, but I want you, if you could, read the bottom for us.
Sure. It says, patient in tribulation, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord.
She was actually very faithful. At times, and if you read in her book, at times she doubted God's grace and glory, but in the end she did. She believed in God and what she tried to help. Especially I think she got that from her grandmother. You just got to read the book. Greetings. For my first passage reading, I'm going to go to page 62. I feel like a couple sentences really showcase the immorality of slavery. Yet few slaveholders seem to be aware of the widespread moral ruin occasioned by this wicked system. Their talk is of blight cotton crops, not of the blight of their children's souls. If you want to be fully convinced of the abomination of slavery, go on a southern plantation and call yourself a Negro trader. Then there will be no concealment, and you will see and hear things that will seem to you impossible among human beings with immortal souls.
And with the view of the purple sycamore tree, which was planted in 1963, I'd like to now read two of my favorite passages from the book. The first one is on page 104, and it kind of shows what she thought of being a mother and how dedicated that she was. The passage reads, "Oh, my child," she said, "don't trust too much in him. Stand by your own children and suffer with them till death. Nobody respects a mother who forsakes her children, and if you leave them, you will never have a happy moment. If you go, you will make me miserable the short time I have left to live. You would be taken and brought back, and your sufferings would be dreadful. Remember, poor Benjamin. Do give it up, Linda. Try to bear a little longer. Things may turn out better than we expect."
Greetings. Now for my second passage, I'm going to go to page 185. I'll tell you why after I read this. "She told me she was an Englishwoman, and that was a pleasant circumstance to me, because I had heard they had less prejudice against color than Americans entertained." Why I like this passage was it was kind of well known that people in England were less prejudiced than the Americans. And it's just kind of like a sad reality that people overseas tend to be less racist than over here. Though, from what I understand, unfortunately, that is changing.
My next passage is on page 194, and it kind of is a precursor to Rosa Parks. Listen. "My answer was that the colored servants ought to be dissatisfied with themselves for not having too much self-respect and to submit to such treatment. There was no difference in the price of board for colored or white servants, and there was no justification for the difference of treatment. I stayed a month after this, and finding I was resolved to stand up for my own rights, they concluded to treat me well. Let every colored man and woman do this, and eventually will cease to be trampled underfoot by our oppressors."
It's going now?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Well, while we have not heard about this place having any spirits or hauntings or anything, we're going to see if maybe we could possibly communicate with our friend here, Harriet, who is named Linda in the novel.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the DVR right on here. So Harriet, you talking there if you'd like, and we're just going to ask you some questions. First of all, in generic, is there anybody here? Except the birds. And if there is this Harriet? I have an offering for you. I'm going to put it on where your grave was, okay?
I hope that they'll stay there and that you'll appreciate what we're doing.
Well, Steve, Gray's right there, but we're not going to sit on it because we're going to sit down for this. Steve's got his handy-dandy Ovulus as we sit next to this big tree. So, if Harriet's here, yes, actually,
There are pretty birds around here.
it said bird, and there's actually a lot of birds everywhere. Okay, I give that one credit.
Okay, so maybe it's working.
Is Harriet here? Well, we're listening to the Ovulus, and I'm getting a little bit more accepting of possibilities with this. It said under power. We all know that Harry was under the power of a master. Peace.
Jerk.
And yeah, he was a jerk. In case you can't hearing it, it says jerk. She also was mentioning, seems like there might be mentions of the room she was in.
She mentioned window and floor.
Well, we're going to be doing Ghost Box time. Not going to do it very long here. Still next to the grave. I'm not going to play the entire video of it. We'll only play anything if we caught anything, but we're giving the Ghost Box a try. Anybody here? Anybody here? Anybody here?
What do you think that your book is still around? That's crazy, huh? What do you think that your book is still around? That's crazy, huh? What do you think that your book is still around? That's crazy, huh?
Well, we're done with Harriet. We're now heading back, but we're going to some more scenic routes to catch out more of the monuments and the beautiful setups they have around here. Come and visit. It's open until from dawn to dusk, like most places. And if you tip over Harriet, we'll come and find you and kill you and rip your eyeballs out. Is that a little too violent?
Just a tad.
Well, how about I do the Tea Party thing and say Second Amendment rights? Oh, look it's a little chipmunk who's hiding. Yeah, I'm not going near there. Come up and bite my eyeballs out.